Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're talking the best ending for Freddy Krueger. You know, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise started back in 1984, but for my personal fandom, it all started 1992, 1993-ish. My mom actually rented Freddy's Dead from the video store, brought it home, and young Vic sat in to watch Freddy's Dead, fell in love with Freddy's Dead, and have been defending Freddy's Dead against all the naysayers and haters for years now. We're talking 30 years of calling Freddy's Dead underrated just because that huge nostalgic moment of being one of the first movies I saw on video at home. The entire family watched it. I didn't know what the hell I was watching. I know that about 2 days later, Freddy came into my damn dreams and haunted my dreams. So I was scared of Freddy as a kid, even though, I mean, this is Freddy's Dead Freddy, so he's pretty damn goofy. So it's also laughing, chuckling inside as young Vic. But, you know, I can't say the Elm Street franchise is my favorite slasher franchise. I think that it's kind of right there for me with Friday the 13th and Halloween. But Freddy Krueger himself has always been my favorite actual horror icon. I think he's the most iconic horror icon. I've argued online with several people that Freddy peaked the highest. If you go back to 80s Freddy, if you see what was going on with 80s Freddy back then, the box office numbers, you know, being mentioned in a president's speech, you know, in Will Smith music videos, all kinds of music videos, 1-800 hotlines, the Freddy's Nightmares TV show. Freddy was everywhere. I think as a pop culture sensation, Freddy was all the rage in the 80s and had about a 3-4 year period where he was more popular and peaked higher than any version of Jason or Michael. And I say as a big Michael or Jason fan, they can't touch peak 80s Freddy. There's something about that works so well that makes it, of course, even to this day, so hard to picture someone else taking on the role. But today we're talking one of the best endings, the top 5 endings for Freddy Krueger. Of course, in the comments, let me know what is your favorite ending in the Elm Street franchise. And if you like this video, feel free to hit the thumbs up, like button, and subscribe if you're not. Going forward, the channel is going to be basically more so about one video per week. I know I've been doing 2-3 videos per week, but outside life calls and there's a lot of busy stuff going on, so about one video a week feels like the right sweet spot. But of course, also in the comments and going forward, if you guys have any ideas for videos, any topics you want me to touch upon in terms of the Halloween franchise, Elm Street, Friday the 13th, any horror topic, I mean, give me suggestions in the comments. I'll make note of them. Love feedback, and we'll try to implement them and talk about whatever discussion that you guys want to discuss about in the future in terms of horror. Coming up, we'll also have a deep dive on Obsession in the next couple weeks. Me and Nick Arcana are going to be talking about that. And I'm going to be reviewing also the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. I've never done like true in-depth videos, I feel like, on the Rob Zombie Halloween. So for the first time, get my complete thoughts, especially on Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I feel like I've only watched like one time. So I'm going to rewatch that. The original, do a deep dive on both of those. So if you're a Rob Zombie Halloween fan, then stay tuned for that. I'm going to be going as deep as I can on the analysis, character motivations, everything I can about those two movies coming in the next couple weeks. All right, let's talk Freddy Krueger, the top 5 endings. Well, first, let me talk about the endings that didn't make the list. There's only like 7-8 movies in the Elm Street franchise, so not everything can make a top 5. But I want to talk about the ending for part 1, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, rewatching the series earlier in the year, I've always found the first Nightmare on Elm Street to be almost a perfect horror film. I feel like it checks all the boxes for a classic horror film. You have classic score, classic horror villain. You have a great final girl with Nancy. Wes Craven's directing his ass off. The Tina death scene's fantastic, gory as hell. It's almost a damn near perfect horror film. It's always been in my top 20 horror films of all time. But the ending of the film is pretty weak, and there's a couple angles to that. First of all, there's just the general idea of that how you defeat Freddy is, you know, turning your back on him and just telling him, hey, I'm not afraid of you, I don't believe in you. That takes away his power. He just disappears. That's kind of a weak ending for like a slasher, crazy horror villain. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to chop off Freddy's head or anything crazy, but something more than that. It just felt like a very low-budget way to get rid of Freddy. And then, of course, the very, very ending. I mean, you think about Freddy coming back, showing he's still alive, but coming back in the dumbest way possible by grabbing basically a mannequin, Nancy's mom, the doll version of Nancy's mom. It's just a horrible, terrible special effects failure, showing a lack of budget and all that. So I don't love the ending of the original Elm Street. So even though I love the film, it's not going to make the top 5 in terms of the ending. The other ending that I think, it almost like history repeats itself 10 years later. You had Elm Street in 84, and then you have New Nightmare in 94, and New Nightmare, I also feel, is like almost damn near a perfect horror film. This is one of those polarizing films. I've seen some critics hate New Nightmare. I've seen some fans not like it. I've always been a huge fan of the entire approach to New Nightmare. I mean, listen, I kind of see what Wes Craven was going for with the whole meta thing, and of course it would take off a couple years later with Scream, but this movie is ahead of its time, New Nightmare, and it's a very smart film, and on rewatches you pick up different things, little nuances and details with every rewatch, so I have a high appreciation for how intelligent New Nightmare is. My only thing with that is like almost the same damn thing as the first movie. It's like the ending just doesn't stick the landing for me. Like, you know, the Hansel and Gretel thing of demon version of Freddy being burned in the oven, and that actually kills the demon. And this wasn't a lack of budget. I think just maybe Wes Craven wrote himself into kind of a corner in terms of like, man, I'm talking about a damn ancient demon that's inhabiting, you know, the character of Freddy to take out Nancy. You're setting that up to be a big, big thing, and you kind of need a big, big, epic ending to get rid of something, an entity that powerful and that big and that ancient, been around that long. And we get kind of a very generic, basic ending for Freddy, and I'm calling him Freddy, but it's even a stronger thing than Freddy. I just think the ending of New Nightmare didn't work for me. It was just anticlimactic. After that much of a build-up for a final showdown between Nancy and whatever this thing is, you just expect something more epic than what we got. So the New Nightmare ending doesn't make the top 5 for me either. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, that one's not going to make the list. I think I do like the special effects at the end of Nightmare 5, especially when Alice and Freddy are kind of conjoined together. It's cool special effects, and the entire scenery and the special effects, everything about the ending of Nightmare 5 works from a special effects standpoint. But I didn't like that Freddy comes out of his mom's body again, like the claw coming out the nun at the end. I just didn't think you needed to set up Freddy still being alive there, so that makes it a terrible potential ending for Freddy. And keep in mind also, the thesis of this whole thing is not necessarily what is the coolest ending. It's the idea for me if the franchise ended there, was it a satisfactory ending? If they didn't make any more sequels after this specific ending, how good does the ending hold up as a final moment of Freddy, as a final moment for the franchise? That's what I'm going by. So all right, let's get into the top 5 now of the Elm Street endings for me. Number 5 is actually going to be Nightmare Part 2. Nightmare 2 is like interesting because I think that, I don't know if I've ever seen a horror sequel that is runs the gamut from people hating it to people loving it to everything in the middle. I mean, it's a very interesting, polarizing, far-reaching opinions on both ends of the spectrum movie in terms of Nightmare 2. People love the film, hate the film, middle ground the film. I'm kind of in the middle ground territory. I don't love the film. I don't hate the film. The biggest thing I took away from my last rewatch was how good Freddy's makeup is. I finally get it now that from a visual standpoint, Freddy looks his absolute best makeup-wise in Nightmare 2. I finally am on board with that. It's the best looking Freddy ever. But Freddy's damn plot in this movie makes no sense to me. Like, he wants to take over Jesse's body. Why? I think that never really clicks to me as like a plight that Freddy would go on. Freddy is most powerful when he's actually himself a dream demon coming to teens' nightmares and taking them out. That's where he's most powerful. Why would he want to inhabit a human's body? That makes him more vulnerable. What if someone just kills Jesse, the human? Then does Freddy die too? So him taking over Jesse's body makes no sense to me. And it's dumb enough that they never revisit this idea of a plot again. This is never Freddy's intent again. You know, he never brings up this idea of taking over a human body in future sequels. So it's a one and done. They don't know what the franchise is yet. That said, there's some good execution in Nightmare 2, so I overall find it to be a solid film. I like the characters for the most part. And the bus scenes that sort of open and close the film are pretty freaking to me. And as a kid, just really stayed in my head, those damn bus scenes. But the ending is interesting because the ending, I mean, it's like the interstellar version of the Elm Street movies. It's using the power of love to defeat Freddy. So Jesse and Lisa, who have only known each other for a few months. I mean, Jesse just moved into town, but in that few months, their chemistry and love for each other has grown so much. The power of their love is able to defeat Freddy. And listen, I like it better than the Nightmare 1 ending. And my only complaint is that if you're doing the power of love defeating evil thing, it's got to be a stronger relationship than freaking high school Jesse and Lisa who've just met each other. I mean, do they have any future together? They're probably going to be broken up by the prom, but here they are, they're the power of their love defeating Freddy. That's kind of a reach. Like, you need like something epic like Jack and Rose and the Titanic. That level of love, I think, would definitely trump Freddy, but we have teen Jesse and Lisa who probably have no future beyond a few months past this movie. And that said, it's an interesting idea, and it works. And I mean, if the franchise died at Nightmare 2, it'd be so interesting to think about how we think about the Elm Street franchise if you just had part 1 and part 2. I don't even know what that conversation looks like. Very interesting to think about. But yeah, it's a definitive ending for the Freddy for the most part, except that, of course, at the end, he does come back on the bus. But that whole bus thing at the end, is that just Jesse dreaming, or is that even real? Like, I don't even know what that is. That felt like, again, just like a setting up a sequel thing. It almost did make the list because of the bus ending, just because Freddy's still alive there. But the power of love, we have to have love make an appearance on this list. The power of love takes out Freddy in part 2. All right, let's get to number 4 on the list. Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. Just talk about how much I defend this film, how much I love this film. Why does everybody hate Freddy's Dead? What is going on? And all the criticism of Freddy's Dead, I never see like a valid reason. Oh, Freddy's too funny, he's too goofy. He's been goofy and funny since part 3, essentially. I mean, it levels up in each sequel. Part 4, he's more goofy. Part 5, he's more goofy. And then part 6 is the height of his goofiness. I understand that, but I like Funny Freddy. I mean, just like, there's some things that I think over time people just bash the hell out of, but it's just the things I grew up with, like the brother-sister storyline with Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. That's just the Halloween franchise to me, and Funny Freddy is just the Elm Street franchise, just a staple of all of the sequels. Like, again, I understand in Elm Street Part 1, he's not Funny Freddy. That's like the purest version of Freddy, but in terms of the sequels, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, Freddy is funny, starting with part 3 on, all the way through Freddy vs. Jason. The dude's cracking one-liners. He's a damn stand-up comedian killer. So, I like Funny Freddy. I like Freddy's Dead. I like the death scenes. Nice Heron from Your Carlos is one of the best death scenes in the franchise in terms of how it's set up, how it's executed, no matter what anybody tells you. That's a great death scene. The video game Power Glove death is damn entertaining, especially if you're a 90s kid and you remember the damn Power Glove. It's hilarious. Okay, anyways, that said, the ending of Freddy's Dead has some problems. We're introducing some random lore with Freddy having a daughter, which we also saw in Jason Goes to Hell. And when they introduce random lore in the final chapter of the film, they're explaining too much. They're giving too much information. It usually backfires. This is not the greatest plot or storyline for a Nightmare on Elm Street film, but Freddy being taken out by his daughter, I mean, I guess it's a poetic way to go, and we have to buy into the idea that New Line Cinema thought this is going to be the last thing for Freddy. This is Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. So they're ending it here. They're calling it quits. They're saying bon voyage to Freddy, and the only thing I don't like is the execution, because Freddy's in this room with his daughter, one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, and Freddy's just not taking this fight very seriously at all. It looks like, for the most part, Freddy doesn't want to kill his daughter. That's what the conclusion I come to, because this is the same Freddy who, when he comes out in the real world in Freddy vs. Jason, whoops Jason's ass for 6 minutes, goes Jason Bourne all over Jason, and looks like he can, take out a damn army, but here, he can't beat up his daughter in a one-on-one fight. Like, he can't control that fight. He gets defeated in one-on-one fair fight with his daughter. It doesn't make sense, but it only makes sense if you think about the idea that Freddy never meant to kill his daughter here. He really wanted to be in cahoots with her, maybe get her to join his side, but he's not taking this serious, and unfortunately for him, he's going to get stuck in the stomach with a dynamite and explode as he says, "Kids." Okay, it's a ridiculous ending. It's not a real ending, because Freddy really can't die. He just goes into some kind of purgatory where he's going to find Jason and bring Jason back, and Freddy vs. Jason. So, I don't know. For something called The Final Nightmare, just like New Nightmare, just like Part 1, you could have found a more epic way to take out Freddy, but it is what it is. I accept it as a solid, reasonable final ending for Freddy, but it's not going to be in the top 3 here, of course. All right, let's go to number 3 on the list. This is going to be Dream Warriors. Dream Warriors, which I think for most people is the best sequel in the franchise, deservedly so. I understand that completely. It's the best well-made sequel. R.I.P. to director Chuck Russell, who recently passed away. Great visionary director, did both Dream Warriors. He also did The Blob, and he did The Mask with Jim Carrey. So you can tell he's absolutely fantastic with visual effects. And Dream Warriors is a very well-made film, and the ending, It's solid. It's a good ending for Freddy. I mean, they bury the bones, and there's some lore there that makes sense to me, so I get it. And I can't say that much about it. It's just a solid ending, well executed. The idea of Freddy going out while taking out Nancy, I mean, for Freddy, that's probably, even though he dies at the end here, it's a satisfactory ending for him to take out his biggest rival, Nancy, in his closing moments. So it's a bittersweet ending with Nancy going out with Freddy, but if the Elm Street movies were just a trilogy, 1, 2, and 3, you could end with Dream Warriors and nobody would complain. It'd be a fantastic way to go out. It'd be remembered as one of the best horror trilogies of all time, although part 2 would be the sort of experimental middle ground, doesn't know what it is sequel. Part 1 and 3 go together like peanut butter and jelly and make a great capper here. So part 3 would have been a great ending. But part 2 I have actually, number 2 on the list, I have Freddy versus Jason. And Freddy versus Jason, the swan song for Robert Englund, the last time, at least so far we know, the last time that he's going to play Freddy Krueger, does an amazing job. One of the best Freddy performances. For people that love darker Freddy, I think Freddy vs. Jason has some hints of part 1 and 2 Freddy. It's not full-blown Freddy's Dead stand-up comedian style. He's a little bit more sinister here in Freddy vs. Jason. But the ending, I mean, of course, obviously, what an amazing ending. Freddy gets to showcase all his martial arts skills. Maybe they learned from Tracy, whooping Jason's ass for minutes here. To me, had the leg up, he's stabbing out Jason's eyes before freaking, our horrible final girl and final guy come and interrupt the fight and, throw their 2 cents in and help Jason win. But Freddy was kicking that ass. Freddy was on the verge of winning. Eventually, he was going to figure out what I need to do here is cut Jason's head off. And as great as Wolverine rejuvenation abilities that Jason has, if you chop off his head, I don't think he's literally putting the head back on. I think he's probably out for the count. So you get an amazing fight scene, Freddy showcasing all his skills, not going out without a big-ass fight, and then that perfect ending with Freddy winking to the audience, telling the audience that, hey, I'm gone, but I'm not out. Maybe this is a dream, maybe this is not a dream. Who won? It's up to you to decide as an audience. That's just amazing stuff, and I give all the props in the world for, I think Bob Weinstein, who was the dude that, was it Bob Weinstein? One of them, I think came up with the idea of that ending of like having Freddy wink at the audience. If we never see Robert Englund play Freddy again, that's the perfect way for him to go out, winking at the audience. Freddy on top, head chopped off, but maybe he won, maybe he lost the battle, but won the war. We don't know, but it's a perfect way to end the Freddy character, to be honest. So, but my surprise number 1 here, the ending that I feel like is actually the best ending in the franchise, that I only realized for the first time this year on the rewatch, is part 4, Dream Master. I think Alice is probably creeping up to almost be my favorite final girl in the franchise. Yes, she's right there with Nancy head-to-head. Just from her work in part 4 and 5, I think she's actually a more well-developed character than Nancy from part 1 and 3. Probably New Nightmares, the thing that pushes Heather Langenkamp forward, though, is the main final girl of the franchise. If it's just 1 and 3 versus 4 and 5, I actually think Alice is the bigger, more well-developed, more epic final girl than 1 and 3, because you think about it, at the end of 3, Nancy gets killed by Freddy, but Freddy's never able to kill Alice. She defeats him in 4 and 5 soundly, beats his ass so bad, by the time Freddy's dead comes around, I think Freddy was just like, hey, I'm not dealing with Alice anymore. Wherever she's at, hope she moved to Fiji, I don't have to see her anymore, hope she never comes back to Elm Street. I don't think Freddy wants anything to do with Alice after the events of part 5. Let's go to Dream Master, though. In the church, that whole great fight scene setup is fantastic, but I just love the ending with Freddy kind of, the souls eating him alive from his insides, and then you see the souls kind of moving past Alice, going towards Elm Street heaven, I guess, and it's just a very touching ending, and it signifies that all the people that Freddy have killed, he had enslaved their souls, and now they're free, and that's a wonderful ending for the Elm Street franchise. On the rewatch, I was like, man, this was going to make so much money. They had to rush out part 5, of course, but if you end at Dream Master, you're talking one of the best endings possible for this franchise. I would have loved it. Loved them to end a Dream Master with that. Even though I like Freddy's Dead, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's still an epic franchise at that point. It's just a touching ending and a great definitive ending for Freddy. Again, there's no hint of him being alive at the end of part 4. It's gone. The story's over, and I love it. So that's my number 1. That's my top 5 endings in the Elm Street franchise. Again, in the comments, let me know what are your top endings in the franchise. And until next time, you guys take care.